Kelly File with Megan Kelly.
A brutal murder is now getting a new look as friends and family continue to defend the man convicted of killing his own wife. It took 2 trials before a jury convicted Mark Duenas. Prosecutors accused him of stabbing his wife to death, and now his family and hers are standing behind him. Trace Gallagher live from our West Coast with why this story is getting such attention. Trace?
And Megan, Mark and Karen Duenas were high school sweethearts, both devout Mormons who married as teenagers and spent the next 33 years raising 5 boys. It was May of 2012. Mark Duenas stayed up late to watch a baseball game. His wife went to bed. He claims he heard cat-like screams. He saw that his wife's bedroom light was still on when he went to check on her. She'd been stabbed several times. The family believes it was a home invasion or robbery gone bad, but from the very start, police say it was the husband who, it turns out, was having an online affair with a woman he knew in high school. Now, the defense points out the bedroom window screen was torn, that neighbors saw strangers in the area, and police saw a car speed away. But much of the case came down to the 911 call made by the husband. First, I'll play you what the defense thinks he said. Listen now and read the captions beneath.
911, your emergency. I killed my wife. You need an ambulance? Okay, hang on, let me get to medical dispatcher. Hold on, sir.
You heard him say, I found my wife. Well, the prosecution heard a different version. Listen again and read their captions. Play this.
911, your emergency. I killed my wife. You need an ambulance? Okay, hang on, let me get to medical dispatcher. Hold on, sir.
Yeah, I killed my wife. So they say the first jury, Megan, hung 9-3 in favor of acquittal. The second jury took 1 day to deliberate and found him guilty of murder.
And just to clarify, because we messed up your graphic, Trace, the second one, the prosecution's version, didn't say I found my wife sick. They argued he was saying I killed my wife and then an expletive, S-H, right?
I killed my wife, S-H, and that's what they're saying it happened. Very hard to hear, but yes, that's their version.
All right, good. Just didn't want to confuse our viewers if we messed up your graphic. Thank you, Trace. Joining me now, Judge Alex Ferrer, host of Judge Alex and a retired Florida Circuit Court judge. So this husband is now serving 25 to life, sentenced in December, for this first-degree murder based largely on that 911 tape, Judge, and a lot of circumstantial evidence. What do you make of it?
It's a weak case, and you know the saying, Megan, weak cases make bad law. And this case is going up on appeal, and appellate courts bend over backwards to make sure that an injustice is not done. And sometimes doing that, they end up making law that applies to a lot of defendants down the road who aren't innocent. And this is one of those cases where that could happen. And in this case, the first jury hung. It was leaning for an acquittal, and there was one member on the jury who shouldn't have been on the jury. He was an alternate. A juror overslept, and the judge sat the alternate juror, and that juror said, I'm voting guilty no matter what, so you may as well hang the jury. So they hung, and he got tried again. The second jury convicted him, but the way you look at it, no matter how you slice it, it looks like a weak case.
But they felt he had means. He was home alone with her on the night she was murdered. She was murdered in their bed, according to the forensic experts. She was stabbed twice in the back, once in the chest, and he had motive, according to the prosecution. They say he was having an affair. And the affair partner testified on the stand, Judge, about allegedly him saying to her that he loved her 3 times, and then him saying to her that at one point he said for them to ever be together, something bad would have to happen.
Yeah, no, I'm not, believe me, I'm not saying that he didn't do it. I'm saying that you have to be able to prove beyond every reasonable doubt he did it. And there are a lot of factors that weigh in his favor as well. His family and her family and everybody who knows them say that they were the most loving couple and that they were never fighting. The prosecutor got up in front of the jury and said that she asked him for a divorce that night when there was not a shred of evidence that she had ever
but let me
asked for a
interrupt you.
divorce.
Even if they were a loving couple, it was established, it was admitted at the trial that he was having at least a texting affair with this old colleague.
When you say affair,
I mean, it was a long distance thing. They weren't actually having sexual relations, but he expressed his love for her.
They hadn't even seen each other.
Yeah, but he said he loved her.
Well, okay, I'm not defending him on that one. What I'm saying is this was a woman he met on Facebook that he went to high school with, and he admitted to his wife that he had been chatting with her, and they had never met, they had never gone out, they certainly never had sex.
But I get all that, but the point is, you can't paint the marriage as rosy. You can't paint the marriage as
No.
rosy when it's established that he's having at least, you know, an emotional affair. But wait, but let me get back to this. Because
Yes, but I'm not the one
here's
painting it
one
as
of the
rosy.
things
His
I want to ask
family
you about.
is.
Here's one of the, because you were a police officer in addition to
Sure.
being a judge. To me, it's extraordinary that this man, with no criminal history as far as I know, and no, you know, history of domestic violence with this wife, would have stabbed her to death. I mean, a stabbing death, stabbed her in the heart, basically, while she's in their marital bed, to be with this woman, you know, whom he may love, but it's only a text, you know, relationship, that kind of thing. That does seem perhaps a bridge too far. Your thoughts on it?
Well, my thoughts are, in an emotional situation, a person who has no criminal record may reach for a knife just like they may reach for anything else. I don't see that as a far stretch. I just see it as an opportunity at the time that the passion gets high. My problem with the case is everything else. Yeah, you can have things that weigh in favor of him possibly being motivated to kill her because of this or that, but there's a big cry between he could have done it for this, he probably did it for this, and proof beyond every reasonable doubt. And in this case, I just don't believe the prosecution had it.
So given that, and by the way, the prosecution also argued that he was going to get about $1 million pension that he wouldn't want to split with her in a divorce. But
Well, that's
given
true
all
in
of
every
that, then
marriage case.
everything you just said, then how important was that 911 call? And again, I apologize to the audience for putting up the wrong graphics, but the prosecution is arguing, maybe we can play it one more time before we let the judge go. They are arguing that he said in the 911 call he slipped and inadvertently admitted to the 911 operator, I killed my wife, and then said the S word. Listen.
911, your emergency. I killed my wife. Blood everywhere. You need an ambulance? Okay, hang on, let me get to medical dispatcher. Hold on, sir.
And now for the second time, we put up the wrong graphic. We keep putting up, I found my wife. That's what the defense is arguing. The prosecution
No, they
did not
said
argue he said found. They said killed.
Yeah, they argue that he said, I killed my wife, and then he said the S word because he caught himself at saying the wrong thing. Here's the problem with that argument. First of all, the jury listened to it over 20 times, and they couldn't make it out. I've listened to it a bunch of times, and I can't tell. This is like the tape in the Zimmerman case where nobody could really tell who's crying out. If the police really believed that what he said was on the 911 call was, I killed my wife, then why didn't they arrest him on the spot? They arrested him 4 months later. If somebody calls 911 and says, I killed my wife, he's not leaving the house except in handcuffs with the cop that very night. So clearly, they didn't believe that's what he said at the time.
This is a fascinating case, and some of her family members are standing behind him, apparently, reportedly. And
I think both of their families are.
And they've got 5
Both of their
boys.
families
The
are.
5 boys are standing behind
Yeah.
the father. So we will see how this plays out on appeal. Judge Alex, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Always good to see you, Megan.
Well, the family members of the